Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Kaijucopia. Number 7 in fact. 5, 2, 7. As we continue on our journey of watching every Godzilla movie, from the very first one to modern day. Originally in celebration of Magic the Gathering's release of Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. Could you imagine? And we begun this journey with me foolishly thinking I was going to be able to watch a movie a day and preview them one at a time and review them for you up until the release of the set. Well, we're long past the release of Ikoria now. It's been out for a couple of weeks. People have started to get their collector's boosters and their box toppers of those sweet, sweet Godzilla altars, and I have to say they do look beautiful. And I wish everyone luck in their chasing of these Godzilla altars, and I hope that you continue to enjoy the set. But as we continue on this journey of Godzilla movies, we're going to be trudging along long past the point of anyone remembering that Ikoria was even a thing, especially once all the companions and the mutates and all the other things that make this set unique have become banned with the upcoming announcements of Magic the Gathering's balanced team. But I digress. The important part of these videos is the review of each movie as they come along. And this one was definitely something special. We had Godzilla versus Ebirah, the horror of the deep. A giant lobster. And he lobstered himself all over the place. You can best believe that. Now in this movie, it was actually quite interesting because going into this, I was told, I had read and researched that this was considered one of the worst Godzilla movies. Just kind of weird not in a good way, just basically it had a bit of a reputation as one of the more this movie just kind of exists in the realm of Godzilla. And if you think about it, if you look into it, it makes sense that people would feel that way, because apparently this was originally supposed to be some form of a Frankenstein movie, and which then was supposed to be a standalone King Kong film, which then they eventually just made into Godzilla. And you could definitely tell from a couple of the mannerisms that Godzilla and how he acted and how he moved around, that you could definitely understand that with him being awoken by lightning at some point and various other things, that this was clearly meant to be some other kind of monster besides the Big G. But you know what? I still thoroughly enjoyed watching Godzilla wreak havoc on these military might of the Red Bamboo. Apparently there was these pseudo-paramilitary terrorist organization that had taken control of a remote island. And they were surrounded, the perimeter was essentially protected or enclosed in by a giant lobster monster by the name of Ebirah. And I have to say, I actually was really impressed with the cinematography of how they presented Ebirah for the vast majority of the movie. Like, when it was just his giant, colossal kaiju claw rising from the ocean and just crushing anything mercilessly that would come across its path, that was terrifying. Putting myself in the shoes of a sailor or people on a boat or anybody that would just be caught unawares by some giant unknown leviathan from the bottom of the ocean just reaffirms my fear that those actual kind of monsters exist. And, that's just the people that we know about. That's just the monsters that we are aware of, let alone what kind of horrors that are in the deep. You see what I did there? That's clever. But either way, this was another movie that was very human-centric in its plot, similar to The Invasion of the Astro Monster, where the resolution of a lot of the conflict was actually due to human ingenuity, kind of like working within the confines of how they can best manipulate the kaiju monsters to help either save them or rescue them from their current predicaments. It all starts with a rather plucky small-town boy that his older brother was lost at sea and long presumed dead, but he didn't believe it. His family didn't believe it. The sage didn't believe it. And she told him that he was alive. And therefore, he wanted to find himself a yacht. So what does he do? Well, what anyone would want to do when you try to find a yacht. You find two people that fail in a dance competition and you get them to drive you to the coast where you can commandeer a yacht. It just happens to have a bandit who just got finished stealing 4 million yen, who's also sleeping there with a toy rifle. I wish I was making this up, folks, but these 4 gentlemen all go on a sailing journey on a mission from God. And, yeah, it doesn't get any less weird than that. They, of course, are accosted by the same storm that unfortunately caused the main character's older brother to become lost, as they are encountered by the colossal lobster that is Ebirah, and they end up getting washed ashore. And that is where they meet the red bamboo, and for a long time we're just very confused as to what is going on this island, not really sure, what is happening, which I didn't really have too much of an issue with, because, sometimes the most effective villains, the most terrifying villains, are the ones that you just don't understand where they come from, what are they doing here, what do they want, what is their goals. All you know is that they're just some nebulous organization or monster or being that is just going around capturing people, killing people, and doing nefarious things, and you don't understand why. Now, eventually, of course, the plot is revealed that they are harvesting lemons, essentially, from the island. Yes, actual lemons, because we all know that the only way to make Ebirah be afraid and avoid attacking their ships is by threatening him with lemon juice, because Ebirah is smart enough to know what happens to his lesser brethren. And that is the fact that, you avoid lemon juice, you avoid butter, you avoid salt, you avoid anything that would make you any more delicious than you have to be. And therefore, the Red Bamboo figured that out, and they captured native peoples from the infant island where Mothra comes from in order to harvest these lemons and also to create nuclear weapons from the lemons. I can't make this up. This is how kaiju movies go, and we're just going to have to get used to this and go with the flow, quite literally. Also happens to be that Godzilla is on this island. He's taking a nap, and he ends up getting woken up by the power of lightning, because the guys that are stranded on this island and accompanied by a tribal princess who does main character concept and runs away from the rest of the group that are being enslaved, and gets away with it because, plot armor. But they end up hatching a plan to wake up Godzilla, because Godzilla will chase away the Red Bamboo people. And, I thought this was rather interesting, with the fact that there was some people in the group that legitimately, you are terrified of the fact that waking up Godzilla, he'll destroy you all. Like, he has a reputation to uphold. While this is the beginning, again, of showing us a little bit of that silliness of that Godzilla becoming more of a friend to humanity and not so much the kaiju mammoth terror that we've all begun to know and love. And because of that love, they entrust that waking up Godzilla will not kill them all. And Mothra apparently also has a plan in which to rescue its island people. The 2 little tiny Asian women that seem to change actresses in every movie instruct people to make a net in order to prepare for something. And I assumed that the net was going to be used in order to catch Ebirah and to feed the people of Infinite Island for months. But alas, it was really just a way for all the humans to be gathered up and be rescued by Mothra as Godzilla and Ebirah clash. In, first of all, having the world's most intense bout of ping pong that you would ever witness in a kaiju battle, which actually has a precedent, because in Godzilla vs. King Kong, they also basically competed in a bit of soccer or hacky sack or ping pong, essentially, between each other, of kicking rocks at each other. And this time, Ebirah and Godzilla were throwing rocks at each other. Eventually, though, Godzilla, he knew what he had to do. His breath weapon proved to be super effective, with the fire against the water types, which is not how Pokemon works, but it is surprisingly effective in the real world when you're trying to boil a lobster, that you would use fire. And with that, eventually Godzilla rips off the claws of Ebirah and sends him packing. And, of course, when he comes back onto the shore, there are no claws in his arms, so you know that Godzilla had a really good lunch. And him and Mothra came face to face again. And, Godzilla was like, hey, you know what? We have unfinished business. And Mothra was like, I don't got time for you. I got to rescue my people. And she pwns Godzilla again. Once again, proving that Mothra is very much a badass. Maybe not king of the monsters, but definitely earning the title of queen of the monsters. And, of course, the island is rigged to explode via nuclear detonation. And Mothra and the main characters all get to fly off into the sunset. But then all the characters that are on the net end up screaming after Godzilla to try to warn Godzilla to jump. Because Godzilla really wasn't trying to hurt anybody from the main cast throughout the movie, and didn't deserve to be left on a nuclear island to die. And so Godzilla somehow understands the humans and leaps off into the ocean, and everyone is happy. And you know what? That was an enjoyable, thrilling experience. And when we next come back to the Kaijucopia, we're going to be dealing with Baby Godzilla. That's right. The son of Godzilla is going to be making their debut in the very next episode of Kaijucopia, and all the wacky silliness that will continue to devolve, or maybe evolve, in our enjoyment of the Kaiju series. Until next time, folks, stay just Quintastic.